How Poland is becoming a military superpower. On 15 August 2023, Warsaw hosted its first military parade since 2019, featuring around 2,000 soldiers, 200 military vehicles, and nearly 100 aircraft to celebrate Polish Army Day. This parade, the first to exclude post-Soviet equipment, was themed strong white and red and served as the highlight of the festivities. According to the Global Firepower ranking, Poland's military is positioned 20th out of 145 nations assessed globally, surpassing Germany, Spain, and Canada in military strength. In this video, our discussion will focus on how Poland is becoming a military superpower. As we proceed to do so, we encourage you to watch until the end. Warsaw's arms deals with South Korea. In 2022, Poland finalized a major arms agreement with South Korea valued at over $14.5 billion, which encompassed the acquisition of 180 K2 Black Panther tanks, 48 Fa-50 light combat aircraft, and approximately 670 K9 Thunder self-propelled howitzers. Additionally, Poland has secured Chunmoo, multiple rocket launch systems from South Korea. In July 2023, during a summit in Warsaw, South Korean President Yoon Yeol and Polish President Andrzej Duda reached an agreement for Poland to procure more South Korean weaponry. This pact followed a $13.7 billion arms deal from the previous year that included the delivery of South Korean rocket launchers and fighter jets to Poland. The two leaders also explored the option of Poland manufacturing South Korean weapons locally. By January 2025, Poland had signed contracts exceeding $16 billion with South Korean companies since early 2022. However, many of these agreements are being divided into smaller parts, which are negotiated separately over time. Moreover, South Korea is collaborating with local banks to assist Poland in financing its $22 billion purchase of South Korean rocket artillery systems and fighter jets, as South Korea has reached its statutory limits on import-export lending. Apparently, Poland is going all out in their bid to become a military superpower, as they have raised its target defense spending from 2.4% of GDP to 5%. Stay tuned for more details in a moment. Poland's defense spending plan. In 2025, Poland increased its defense expenditure from 2.4% to 5% of GDP. The proposed budget for 2025 includes a historic defense expenditure of 187 billion zlotys, equivalent to $48.7 billion, which represents 4.7% of GDP for this year. This move aims to strengthen Poland's security and position it as a leader within NATO and the EU, alongside significant military purchases from the US and South Korea, while also supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russia's invasion. Former Poland's Defense Minister Mariusz Błaszczak announced in July 2022 that the nation aims to establish the strongest land forces in Europe, and it's making significant progress. As of 2022, Poland boasts more tanks and howitzers than Germany and is on track to expand its army to 300,000 troops by 2035. Surpassing Germany's existing 170,000. Currently, Poland's military consists of around 292,000 personnel, including 40,000 in a newly formed territorial defense force established in 2017. These part-time soldiers participate in 30 days of training, followed by refresher courses. Initially met with skepticism, the effectiveness of such forces has gained credibility due to Ukraine's successful use of mobile militias armed with anti-tank and anti-aircraft weapons. In contrast to Germany, which faces challenges in recruitment, Poland's military enlistment efforts are thriving. The Polish people have a more favorable view of their military compared to Germany because they fought for their freedom, noted Gustav Gressel, a former Austrian military officer and security expert with the European Council on Foreign Relations. In military circles, the quality of the Polish army is unquestioned. However, whether Poland's military strength will lead to greater political influence in Europe remains uncertain. Regardless, one thing is sure: Poland, in its quest to become a military powerhouse, is ready to buy more arms from other countries aside from South Korea, as will be discussed shortly. Arms purchase from other countries. Aside from purchasing arms from South Korea, Poland is actively enhancing its military strength by acquiring arms from various nations, especially the United States. The country has finalized agreements to purchase 48 Patriot missile launchers from the U.S., among other essential acquisitions. Additionally, Poland has resumed its arms supply to Ukraine via the U.S. and is importing weapons and ammunition for its requirements. The Polish government, led by Prime Minister Donald Tusk, has shown interest in accessing nuclear weapons to bolster Poland's security against perceived threats from Russia. He highlighted that Poland is engaged in serious discussions with France about accessing its nuclear deterrent, which President Emmanuel Macron has offered to European allies. While Tusk did not directly suggest creating a nuclear arsenal, he mentioned the importance of exploring options for nuclear and modern unconventional weapons. However, Tusk's administration is currently reviewing the contracts for some of the arms deals made by the previous government, highlighting the importance of a careful examination before these purchases are finalized. Additionally, Tusk shared plans to establish a military force of 500,000 by mandating military training for all adult males, aiming to develop a reserve force capable of addressing potential threats. This initiative arises from increasing worries about the reliability of the U.S. as an ally against Russia, especially considering President Donald Trump's policies. Interestingly, Tusk had stated that Poles won't embrace the idea that they are entirely powerless and helpless just because President Trump has chosen to change policy. Is Poland really combat-ready in the event of a war? Stay tuned, as the discussion on how Poland is becoming a military superpower will continue in a moment. Proof of Poland's military superpower. In 2022, when a stray missile struck a Polish border town, resulting in 2 fatalities, European leaders were equally concerned about the reaction of Poland's right-wing government, as they were about the possibility of a Russian order behind the attack. Poland's historical skepticism towards Russia, combined with the government's strong aversion to Moscow, raised alarms from Brussels to Berlin about the potential for a hasty response from Warsaw. However, instead of panicking, Poland remained composed, placing its military on alert while waiting for more information about the incident. It was later established that the missile was an air defense projectile fired by Ukraine that accidentally went off course. This calmness stemmed from a reality that many in Europe have overlooked. Poland boasts one of the strongest armies on the continent, and it is only set to grow more formidable. Poland's wariness of Russia has led it to reject the prevailing belief in Europe that traditional warfare is outdated. Instead, it is developing what is likely to become the EU's most powerful ground forces. Former Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki emphasized this shift on the eve of Poland's Independence Day in 2022, stating, "The Polish army must be so powerful that it does not have to fight due to its strength alone." This change has resonated with Poland's crucial ally. A senior U.S. Army official in Europe remarked, "Poland has become our most important partner in continental Europe," highlighting Poland's vital role in supporting Ukraine and bolstering NATO defenses in the Baltic region. While Germany has historically been America's key ally in the area, its ongoing discussions about military revitalization and lack of a strategic approach have hindered its effectiveness as a partner, according to the official. What the future holds for Poland. In analyzing how Poland is becoming a military superpower, we cannot ignore the country's long-term security plans. Poland is prioritizing its future security and defense by bolstering military capabilities and forming strategic alliances to tackle new threats. As discussed earlier, the government plans to modernize its armed forces and boost defense spending to 5% of GDP by 2025. This strategy involves acquiring cutting-edge weaponry and fostering domestic defense industries. Poland is also reinforcing its relationships with NATO and the United States, highlighted by a recent nearly $2 billion agreement for logistical support for the Patriot air defense system. Additionally, Poland is collaborating with the European Union on defense initiatives, such as the European Defense Investment Programme, EDIP, and is advocating for enhanced EU-led defense efforts. In terms of regional security, Poland is wary of potential instability in nearby areas, especially the Southern Caucasus and the Middle East, while keeping a close watch on Russia's actions and their implications for NATO's Eastern Front. The country's strategic plan includes developing anti-access area denial A2AD systems to strengthen its defenses. Moreover, Poland is actively supporting Ukraine's defense, as demonstrated by a recent bilateral security agreement that encompasses military aid and defense industry collaboration. The larger geopolitical context, including the US-China rivalry and the possibility of a US withdrawal from European security matters, shape Poland's defense policy. The nation is adeptly navigating these intricate dynamics to secure its long-term safety and stability. Overall, Poland is establishing itself as a significant contributor to European defense and security, emphasizing modernization, strategic partnerships, and regional stability. It is little wonder the country is gradually becoming a military superpower. As this video ends, what are your thoughts about Poland's growing defense and security? Please join the conversation and keep it going. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.